Okay, guys, just doing a quick fight guide for Smolderon since we're stepping in for the first time this week. We are worried about three primary mechanics, which is what I want to focus on primarily. Starting off, though, want to go over boss positioning and where we should be standing for a few different things. Do not take the first set of mechanics as law. We aren't going to be doing the same thing as we do on the first set, and I'll explain why in a second. So for first set, tanks are going to want to have boss position between these two rings. The reason being, it allows for easier spread for swirlies and allows for easier baits to make sure that the first set of baits um, after the boss does the frontal mechanic and after we get the swirlies out and everything, so the baits that are going to take up a pie of the room, we can make sure that they're better coordinated, cleans up the later parts of the fight. So we see the first set of swirlies come out. Good thing to note about the first set of swirlies, they are out for a while before the runic brand goes out. Or not runic brand, it's ruinous brand or something like that. Before the big soak goes out. So in the first set of mechanics, the cadence of this is a lot easier and it speeds up over time. So we have 3 seconds from when we get the swirlies to when we get the big soak. And you're going to see that everybody's able to get in the big soak. They all get the healings absorb off. It's super easy. This is only the case on the first set. We'll see a little bit later how it looks later on. But for our first set of healing absorb baits, we're going to be walking back from the middle of the room to the outside. And you're going to see all these people, once their swirlies go off, they're going to collapse in. And we're going to get a nice clean bait around purple. See in a second. So tornadoes go out, everybody dodges, and if you can't get to purple, you get behind purple. And yeah, nice clean bait. They can't overlap, so they take up different parts of the room. Looks really nice. Moving on, you'll see that they take the boss to the outside of the room and they keep it here. This is where we're going to keep the boss as we progress around the room, just in between these two lines. Because of the way that we're baiting the healing absorbs afterwards. So we'll see that lava spawns here. We want to have a bit more room to move, so we pull the boss to about here, and we're going to do the frontal soak on this marker right here. So boss gets pulled, they keep walking a little bit. Perfect. Tornadoes are coming out soon, and we'll talk about these orbs in a second after we go over what's happening on our screen. So tornadoes come out, frontal soak comes out. Everybody is stacking as tight as they can. The way this is going to work is you have 3 seconds once the soak goes out. So 1, 2, 3, before these healing absorbs explode. So you want to be moving on 2 seconds, but we don't want to over move. The reason that we are stacking here and moving out this way is because of the mythic mechanic, which is going to be, we'll see here, no, not here. I have to go back a little bit further. These orbs. These orbs are going to be the biggest wipe condition for our raid. For most raids, it's the biggest wipe condition throughout the whole fight. This requires the liquid Weakauara. The liquid Weakauara is going to activate when we get it. So the way it works is 4 different players get targeted with fixated orbs. The orbs will follow you forever. And any players that they hit are applied with a 4-second dot. Does 66,000 damage per tick, and it ticks 1 time per second. So that's 4 ticks. It's almost 200k, 250k damage over 4 seconds. It just increases the rot that you take in the fight. It's not going to kill you if you have to get hit by it, but it's preferred that you don't. Mismanaging this mechanic can make it really hard. But obviously this isn't the main effect of this mechanic. The main effect of this mechanic is each orb that gets soaked applies a 3-second debuff. So we see the first soak goes out and it's soaked by Scott up at the top. It was just soaked here. Everybody now has a 3-second debuff where they take 500% increased damage from each time these orbs get soaked. These orbs flat do 200k damage. So if another one gets soaked within 3-second window, obviously raid wipe. We have to plan these out 3 seconds apart. So here we can see that Weakauaras is showing that one person already soaked, and it's showing that one more person soaked. So now we have a 3-second timer where we're vulnerable. We wait for the timer to go off, and we're good to soak again. So now Dryny, his name, he's the one streaming. Dryny's soaking his next orb. It doesn't happen immediately. We get the timer right. Good. 3 more seconds. Smacked is getting ready to soak. His name's being called, and we soak. Now all the orbs are gone. These orbs are very, 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 very important. You're going to get the spawns early, and you'll see how most of the raid is getting ready to stack up and do their mechanic. So all the people who were marked with tornadoes on the last set, you'll see are stacked up over here. And Dryny was not marked with a tornado on the last set, but he knows that he has an orb. So he's run out to here, and he's trying to get into a position where he can soak this orb and not hit the rest of the raid. Well, hitting the rest of the raid isn't that big of a deal, but being able to soak this orb and kite through and bait the healing absorbs in the right position. If he just stands here, the orb's already into him, he's already dead, or the raid's already dead. So he has to stand far and get ready to run around and make sure the orb has more uptime. You'll see the example here. He runs the orb around, make sure it doesn't soak too early, gets in the soak, and you'll see Smack is just kiting his orb around as well. So we move through the boss with the healing absorbs. We bait them as best as we can. Now we have intermission. Intermission is always the same cadence. We will have a Weakauara that shows you exactly what is going to be happening. We get the orbs again for the Mythic mechanic. You get these guys. You're going to see down here, different stream. Fired Up has his. Again, Fired Up's done. 3 seconds of vulnerability. Now, Vulnerable Soak. He's soaking his orb a bit late. Maybe delaying damage there. Maybe just a misplay. And then obviously the main mechanic that we're going to be talking about during intermission is going to be soaking the orbs. If you do not soak the orb, the boss gains 1% fire damage amp. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt a lot. We need to make sure that all our orbs are getting soaked. Something that I don't know if we've discussed before is this frontal soak that we see around here. This is what gives you your orbs. When you get hit by this soak, you are applied with a debuff. This debuff is cleansed when we get into the intermission, and that's what causes the orbs to spawn. So you'll see here, everybody has, I forget what the debuff is called exactly. Everybody has the debuff. You can see it, it's this. Everybody has the debuff. The stomp goes out, everybody gets knocked. Bang. We all no longer have the debuff, and all of our orbs are spawning. The orbs give you a big damage amp, and it's going to help us hit the damage check in the fight, so this needs to be managed properly. As we progress throughout the fight, as I mentioned before, the intermission is obviously going to take some time to get used to it, but as we progress throughout the fight, the cadence of the abilities gets faster. So we see the first tornadoes go out, soak goes out, everybody soaks. Again, healing absorbs are off. We run this way through the boss. So we run towards the edge of the room and through the boss. The cadence starts speeding up slowly, and we try and bait behind. The positioning on this fight isn't super tight, so we are able to have a few bad baits. That's needless to say, we shouldn't aim to have some bad baits, but it's possible and it's acceptable. But yeah, as far as this fight goes, that's going to be about it. Please review the presentation that I made. It has a lot of good details. It has a fight glossary for all the abilities that you'll have to interact with, images, everything that you'll need for reference. Once you already know the mechanics, it should make everything easier. So yeah, good luck tomorrow.